the real story, who truly discovered America. Today, we often hear that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Every October, Americans celebrate Columbus Day, honoring the moment in 1492 when Columbus, an ambitious Italian navigator sailing under the Spanish flag, set foot in the New World. It's a holiday that has been recognized nationally since 1937, a tribute to a man who helped bridge two worlds, introducing the Americas to Europe. However, if we really stop and think about it, the phrase "Columbus discovered America" isn't entirely accurate. Columbus didn't so much discover a new land as he opened the door for Europe to a world that was already teeming with life, culture, and history. Indigenous peoples had called these lands home for tens of thousands of years before Columbus ever set sail. So, if not Columbus, who were the true first Americans? To answer that, we need to go back, way back. According to Michael Bawaya, editor of American Archaeology magazine, the first humans arrived in the Americas from Asia probably no later than about 15,000 years ago. They made the journey by crossing the Bering Land Bridge, a vast, treeless tundra that once connected modern-day Siberia to Alaska. During the Ice Age, sea levels were much lower, and the bridge was hundreds of kilometers wide. It wasn't a particularly welcoming environment, barren, windswept, and cold, but it teemed with life. Woolly mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and even Arctic camels roamed the land. Birds, fish, and marine mammals established migration patterns there that still exist today. Humans, ever resourceful, followed the game across the bridge in their unending search for food, shelter, and water. Once in North America, they spread rapidly, fanning out across the continent and, eventually, into Central and South America as well. For decades, archaeologists referred to these early settlers as the Clovis people, named after an archaeological site near Clovis, New Mexico, where ancient tools were discovered, dating back over 11,000 years. These Clovis peoples are believed to be direct ancestors to nearly 80% of today's indigenous Americans. But the story doesn't end there. Modern research suggests that people were in the Americas even before the Clovis culture appeared. These are the so-called Pre-Clovis people, the true first settlers, although their exact identities and origins remain a mystery. Remnants of Pre-Clovis human presence have been found across a wide range of locations, from Texas to Virginia, and as far south as Peru and Chile. And even today, new discoveries are pushing the timeline back even further. Some evidence suggests humans may have arrived in North America as long as 20,000 years ago, or even earlier. The science is still evolving, but the message is clear. The Americas were not an empty wilderness waiting to be discovered. They were lands full of life, history, and complex human societies. But what about the Europeans? Even if Columbus wasn't the first to set foot in the Americas, was he the first European to see these lands? Again, the answer is no. Roughly 500 years before Columbus's famous voyage, Vikings, those legendary Norse sailors, made it across the Atlantic. Evidence of their presence can be found in Newfoundland, Canada, at a place called L'Anse aux Meadows. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site today, where archaeologists have uncovered the remains of 8 structures, likely wooden buildings covered in sod, that point to a Viking settlement. 1,000 years ago, Newfoundland was much more forested than it is today, providing the Norse explorers with wood for repairs and fuel. It's believed the site served as a base camp where Vikings waited out harsh winters, tended to their ships, and perhaps prepared for further exploration. While it's unclear if the Vikings established permanent colonies in North America, one thing is certain: they were here long before Columbus dreamed of a western route to Asia. And the story gets even more fascinating. Half a world away, in the Pacific Ocean, another surprising clue emerges, one that involves an unlikely hero, the humble sweet potato. The sweet potato is native to South America, yet it has been a staple food in Polynesia for at least 1,000 years. How did it get there? Scientists comparing the DNA of Polynesian and South American sweet potatoes found a clear link. It suggests that either Polynesian voyagers reached South America and brought the tuber home, or South Americans somehow crossed the Pacific to Polynesia. Either way, it points to an incredible truth. Ancient peoples had the skills and daring to cross vast oceans long before Columbus. They shared crops, ideas, and perhaps even genes. In fact, a 2014 genetic study found Native American DNA in the populations of Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island, dating back to around 1280 AD. This indicates that Native Americans and Polynesians not only met, but likely lived together, centuries before Columbus set out on his voyages. Other theories? Well, there are a few. For example, a retired British naval officer, Gavin Menzies, proposed that the Chinese discovered and colonized South America in 1421. Another theory, by retired chemist John Ruskamp, suggests ancient Chinese characters were carved into rocks in Arizona thousands of years ago. While intriguing, these ideas have been largely discredited by mainstream scholars. The archaeological and genetic evidence simply doesn't support them, at least not yet. So, what does all this mean? The story of who discovered America is far richer and more complex than the simple tale many of us learned in school. Long before Columbus, before the Vikings even, the Americas were a tapestry of cultures, languages, and peoples. It was a melting pot centuries before the first European colonists arrived. Diverse groups came here not for conquest, but often out of the timeless human desires for a better life, abundant food, fresh water, and opportunity. In that way, not much has changed. Today, America still attracts people from all over the globe, drawn by the same dreams and hopes that brought the first humans across the Bering Land Bridge, the Vikings across the Atlantic, and the Polynesians across the Pacific. In the end, perhaps the real discovery of America is not a single event at all, not a moment of stepping ashore, but the timeless human spirit of exploration and the search for a better tomorrow. Thank you.